Everyone in the narrow alley of Bakri Bazaar knew him as Master Imran, the man with the warmest smile and the sweetest candy shop in the neighborhood. His small wooden shop, paint peeling, sign faded, and jars filled with colorful sweets, was more than just a place for children to buy candy. It was a safe corner, a memory maker, and in many ways his life's heartbeat. Imran had run that shop since he was 17, learning from his own father who'd passed when he was just a boy. But nothing in his life mattered more than his twin daughters, Alina and Ariba. Born after years of waiting and prayers, they were his world. Their laughter echoed through the alley, and their tiny feet often danced around the shop counter as he handed them lollipops wrapped in golden foil. But the sweetness of life didn't last forever. When the girls turned 10, Imran's wife, Fariha, passed away unexpectedly. A sudden illness, 3 days in the hospital, and just like that, he was a widower. The grief nearly broke him, but he couldn't afford to break. The girls needed him more than ever now. Years passed, and education became more expensive, especially for the kind of future Imran dreamed of for his daughters. He didn't want them to end up like him, uneducated, struggling, scraping every rupee. He saw the way people treated him. Some pitied him, others ignored him. He wanted his daughters to rise above that. One evening, after closing the shop, he sat with a local businessman who had been eyeing his shop space for months. It was a prime corner now, thanks to the new mall construction nearby. The man offered more money than Imran ever thought he'd see in his life. He signed the papers. That night, with trembling hands, he handed over the keys to the candy shop he had built with his blood and sweat. For the next few months, Imran worked odd jobs. He stitched buttons in the local garment factory, cleaned tables at a tea stall, carried sacks at the railway station. But Alina and Ariba never knew. He always made sure they saw his tired smile, not his tired body. The girls studied hard, got scholarships, and eventually they both got selected for university in another city. Imran packed their bags himself, hiding his tears behind jokes and smiles. When the train left, he stood on the platform for hours after, holding a handkerchief that still smelled like their hair oil. Years turned into decades. At first, they called every week, then once a month. Then came the silence. No calls, no letters. No visits, neighbors whispered. Some said the girls must be ashamed of their father's condition. Others assumed they had moved abroad. Imran never spoke ill of them. Every aid, he cleaned the house twice, cooked their favorite biryani, and waited by the door. Now, 25 years later, Imran was a frail old man with sunken cheeks and a heart full of memories. He sat outside his crumbling home, staring at the road, when a black luxury car pulled up. The door opened, 2 women stepped out. Identical faces, expensive clothes, eyes full of emotion. But Imran just blinked. He didn't move, because something in their eyes told him they weren't just here to hug him. They were here to say something that might change everything. Imran didn't stand up. He couldn't. His knees had long given up on sudden movements, and right now they were locked with confusion and fear. He squinted at the 2 women walking toward him. They were beautiful, tall, gracefully dressed in long coats and soft scarves. Their skin still held that same golden hue of his little girl's, but everything else, their posture, their silence, the way they looked at him like strangers, felt foreign. "Abba," one of them finally said. Her voice cracked like old wood under pressure. "Abba, it's me, Ariba." Imran's breath caught. The sound of her voice dragged him back through time. A younger Ariba used to scream when she lost, at Ludo, cry when she couldn't find her favorite pink ribbon. That voice, grown now, measured, weary, was still hers. The other woman stepped closer. "It's Alina. We've come back, Abba." He opened his mouth but found no words, only a tremble, a flicker in the eyes. His hands reached out, but then stopped mid-air, unsure. They stood there awkwardly, the silence between them more painful than distance ever was. Then, gently, Alina knelt beside him. "You look so old." Imran laughed dryly. "Well, I didn't stay 30 for 25 years, did I?" Ariba let out a tiny sob and covered her mouth. The neighbors peeked from behind curtains. Kids stopped playing. Even the rickshaw driver across the lane stared, but Imran didn't care. He was still trying to process the moment. "Where have you been?" he asked softly. "Why didn't you come back?" The two women glanced at each other. It was Ariba who spoke. "We didn't know how to. Too much time passed. And then, it just got harder." Harder. That word stabbed him deeper than he expected. As if they were the ones who had struggled to come back. He wanted to shout, to scream all the nights he slept hungry, so they could have school books, all the times he swallowed insults for the fees he couldn't pay on time, how he worked like a dog just to get a 5-minute phone call that eventually stopped. Instead, he nodded like a fool. "I see." Alina stood now, brushing off the dust from her knees. "We came because we wanted to see you, and to tell you something important." Imran nodded again, too tired to ask. "We're starting a foundation," she said slowly, like each word was wrapped in hesitation. "It's for underprivileged children. We wanted to name it after you, the Imran Hope Foundation." He blinked. "A foundation?" Ariba jumped in. "Yes, we've both done well. Alina's in Dubai, I'm in London. We've saved enough to give back now." There was pride in their tone, pride in their success, pride in their plans. But none of it seemed to reach the man sitting before them, his bones brittle from sacrifice, his eyes dulled by years of waiting. "And you want my name for it?" he asked quietly. Alina smiled. "Of course. We wouldn't be where we are without you, Abba. You sold your shop for us. That candy shop was your everything." He nodded again. "Yes, it was. And so were both of you." Ariba knelt beside him now. "Can we come in? Just for a little while?" Imran looked at the old wooden door. It still creaked. The paint was almost gone. But it was home. He stood, slowly, wincing with every step. They tried to help him, but he gently brushed their hands away. There are some things a father must do on his own, even when it hurts. Inside, the house smelled of old memories. The dining table still had the uneven leg Imran fixed with folded paper. Their childhood drawings still hung on the fridge, faded and curled at the edges. He never took them down. Ariba touched a photo on the wall. It was their family portrait. Fariha smiling, Imran holding the girls, barefoot, all of them. Poor, but happy. "We should have come sooner," she whispered. Imran didn't respond. He moved to the stove, lit it with effort, and placed a kettle. "You'll have chai before you go." Alina looked around awkwardly. "You still live here?" "I have nowhere else to go," he said simply. "This is my palace." They sat in silence for a while. Then Alina finally said what he suspected was coming. "We didn't just come for the foundation." He turned slowly, the kettle hissing behind him. "No?" She swallowed. "We want to buy back the candy shop, the one you sold. We found the current owner. He's willing to sell." Imran felt the blood drain from his face. "You want to buy the shop?" Ariba nodded. "Yes, and turn it into something for kids. Maybe a reading center, or a sweet shop again, something beautiful." His lips trembled. He remembered that shop like it was a child he'd buried, and now they were talking about resurrecting it like a brand, a project. He poured the tea slowly, hands shaking slightly. "You want to bring back the shop, but not me." Alina looked confused. "What do you mean?" "You're rebuilding memories," he said softly, handing them the chipped cups. "But not the man who held them. You're giving me a name on a wall, but not the years you took away." Ariba's eyes filled again. "Abba, we're sorry." He smiled, just a little. "I know, but sorry doesn't fix silence, and names don't heal broken hearts." They sat with their tea, unsure what to say. Outside the sun was setting. The neighborhood was still the same, but the house, the air, the people inside, it had all changed. Imran looked at his daughters and wondered, not for the first time, whether love that sacrifices everything ever truly comes back the same. The tea had long gone cold, but none of them moved. The silence between Imran and his daughters was thick, heavier than anything that had passed between them before. Outside, the street grew quieter. Evening prayers echoed in the distance, but inside the old house the sound was like a ghost of something that used to be whole. Ariba set her cup down gently. "Abba, we never meant to stay away this long. Life just moved fast. 1 year turned into 2, and then—" Imran interrupted softly. "And then you forgot how to dial." "An old number," Alina flinched. "It wasn't like that. We were just trying to survive, build something. We thought once we made it, we'd come back and make you proud." "I was already proud," he replied, staring into the distance. "The day you both walked into that train with scholarship letters in your hands, I was proud. I didn't need Dubai or London for that." The girls looked at each other. Their father hadn't changed in his simplicity, still soft-spoken, still selfless. But behind his calm words were quiet bruises they had left unhealed. "Abba," Alina said, her voice low, "why didn't you ever come to visit us?" He chuckled bitterly. "And go where? I didn't even know where you lived. You never told me your addresses. I kept asking on the phone, remember? You always said soon. Then one day the number just stopped working." Ariba swallowed hard. "We didn't think it would be this long." "No one ever does," he replied. "You always think you'll return before the last train leaves." Alina stood up and paced slowly. "We were young. We were scared. Of failure, of shame, of showing you that we hadn't become what you dreamed." Imran looked at her now, directly. "But you did become what I dreamed. You just forgot who you became it for." His words landed like weight on their shoulders. Guilt has a strange way of lingering in the corners of a room, whispering louder than any accusation. They had spent years chasing success, while the man who once sold sweets to strangers just to pay for their tuition sat alone, counting stars that never wrote back. "I kept your mother's dupatta," Imran said suddenly. "It still smells like rosewater. Some nights I sleep with it beside me. Feels less alone that way." Ariba covered her mouth, tears welling again. "We weren't heartless, Abba," she said quietly. "Just lost. Loss is a choice when you know the way home." He said, and for a man who rarely spoke much, the weight of those words was unforgiving. They all sat quietly again. Alina reached into her handbag and pulled out a folder. "These are the documents," she said, pushing them gently toward him. "The shop. We bought it in your name. The deed is yours now." Imran stared at the folder but didn't touch it. "What will I do with the shop now? You can run it again or let us help reopen it with a new look, make it a place for the kids in the area, a space of joy, hope, maybe even employ some of the locals." Imran didn't answer. He looked around his modest home, the walls cracked with time, the photos fading. A life lived in waiting. Alina leaned in. "We want to rebuild, Abba, not just the shop us." A flicker of something passed his face, pain maybe, or longing. But he nodded just once. "You can try," he said, "but bricks don't forget the hands that built them, and neither do fathers." Ariba stood and walked to the shelf near the window. She picked up a tin box that once held candies. Now it was filled with old receipts, letters never sent, and a pair of socks that had long since lost their partners. "You kept everything," she whispered. Imran smiled faintly. "Every sweet wrapper, every drawing, every card you gave me on your birthdays. What else did I have to hold on to?" That hit harder than anything yet. Ariba came over and hugged him, not a light hug, a full, shaking, desperate hug, one that carried 25 years of sorries wrapped in silence. "I missed you every single day," she cried into his shoulder. "I know," he said, patting her back gently. "I missed you more." Alina sat on the floor beside them. For the first time, they were together again, but so much had changed. Their father had shrunk into old age. Their childhood home was no longer what they remembered, and their hearts were full of both joy and wounds. They stayed until late evening. When they stood to leave, Imran didn't stop them. He simply said, "If you come back next Friday, I'll make your mother's biryani." They smiled through teary eyes. "We'll be here," Alina promised. And this time, Imran added, "Don't let the silence return with you." They nodded. As they walked out into the cool night air, the streetlight flickered above them. The car door closed, the engine hummed, and Imran, standing at the doorway, watched them leave just like he had once before. Only this time there was a promise in the air. But promises are like sugar, sweet until they dissolve. Imran stood by the window long after the car disappeared from view, the streetlight casting a shaky gold shadow over the doorway. The warmth of their voices still lingered in the room, faint, like the scent of long-dead roses. He didn't move much that night, just sat in his old wooden chair, a blanket draped over his knees, eyes wide open in the dark. He didn't cry. He couldn't. Years of tears had already drained him. What he felt now wasn't sorrow, it was something heavier, like hope dipped in suspicion. Friday came slowly. Every morning he woke up a little earlier, cleaned a little longer, and stared at the candy tin for a little too long. He went to the bazaar on Thursday, walked slower than usual, bought the same old rice and spices Fariha used to buy. He even managed to get a tiny piece of mutton the way his girls liked it. Neighbors noticed. "Master Imran, you've got guests," one of them asked with a smile. He smiled back, but it didn't quite reach his eyes. "Yes, my daughters are coming. Home." Friday morning arrived with a gentle breeze and the smell of cardamom in the air. Imran washed his face twice, combed his thinning hair carefully, and wore his best shalwar kameez, white with the little blue stitching at the collar. He looked at himself in the mirror and chuckled. "Old man, don't get your hopes up too." Hi. By noon the biryani was cooking. The house smelled like childhood, like love, like memories that refused to die. By 2 p.m. he had set the table. 3 plates, 3 glasses, a jug of water chilled with tiny lemon slices. By 4 p.m. he sat by the window. By 6 p.m. the food was cold. He didn't eat, just waited. Again. It wasn't until 8 p.m. that his phone rang. It was a number he didn't recognize, but his heart jumped. He picked up quickly. "Hello? Abba, it's me," Alina said. Her voice rushed. "I'm so sorry. We got caught up at a press event for the foundation. We're with some donors. We meant to leave earlier, but..." He closed his eyes. Not because he was angry, but because he had heard this tone before. Excuses wrapped in guilt. "It's all right," he replied. "These things happen." "We'll come next Friday, promise," she said. "We're actually flying out tomorrow for a few days, but right after that..." "Don't worry, Beta," he said gently. "The biryani will taste better next week." She sounded relieved. "You're not upset?" "I stopped getting upset about time years ago," he said. When the call ended, he hung up the phone and quietly moved the plates back into the cupboard. He didn't throw away the food, just reheated a little and ate in silence, chewing slowly like each bite was laced with something bitter. The next Friday didn't come. Neither did the one after that. But the foundation came alive. A colorful banner with his name, Imran Hope Foundation, was hoisted at the same spot where his candy shop once stood. The daughters shared photos online. Social media lit up with praises. What an inspiring story. Father sells shop. Daughters rise and return to honor him. But in that same alley, just a few doors away from the glowing new center, Imran sat watching from his window. No one from the foundation came to his house. Not once. Not even for a cup of tea. People began stopping him in the market. "Your daughters are amazing, Imran Bhai," they'd say. "You must be so proud." He would smile every time and reply, "Yes, I am. They've built something beautiful." But beauty doesn't always taste sweet. One evening, as he passed by the foundation center on his walk, he paused in front of the large poster hanging by the gate. It was a photo of his daughters shaking hands with a foreign donor, and right beside them, a younger photo of him holding a tray of sweets. He stared at it for a long moment until a guard stepped out. "Sir, you okay?" Imran turned to him and smiled. "I'm the man in that photo." The guard blinked. "Oh, wow, really? That's you?" "Yes." "Would you like to go inside?" Imran shook his head. "No, I was just making sure I still existed." And then he walked away, hands behind his back, heart both full and broken. Because the daughters who once held his fingers tightly had let go again, this time under the weight of success. He wasn't angry, just forgotten. The days bled into each other, and the whispers in the neighborhood began to shift. People started saying things they thought Imran couldn't hear. They named the place after him, but he's never even seen the inside. Such big-hearted daughters. But strange, no? They never visit. Maybe he's not as important as their foundation stories say. The comments didn't sting as much as they used to. Imran had grown used to being a character in a tale someone else told. It was strange, really, how his name was everywhere. Now, but no one really spoke to him anymore. One afternoon, the mailman brought a formal envelope with gold trim. It was an invitation to the Foundation's gala event, a night of hope. A black-tie fundraiser with donors, politicians, and media. And at the bottom of the invite, printed in a different font, it said, "We cordially honor Mr. Imran Ahmed, whose sacrifice changed lives." Imran stared at the invitation for a long time, then carefully placed it in a drawer with the rest of the things he rarely opened. That evening, as he stood by his window like always, he saw the lights decorating his old candy shop. Music blared, cameras flashed, and elegant cars pulled up one after another. He spotted Alina in a navy blue dress, smiling perfectly. Ariba stood beside a local politician, handing him a flower. Not once did their eyes wander in his direction. They had bought the shop, bought the land, reclaimed the name, but not him. Still, something pushed Imran out the door. Maybe it was curiosity. Maybe it was longing. Maybe it was just foolish hope that the warmth in their smiles would stretch far enough to cover him too. He crossed the narrow alley slowly, his white kurta fluttering lightly in the breeze, and approached the gate of the event. The same guard from before looked at him and straightened. "Sir, you came tonight?" Imran gave a half smile. "Yes, I received the invitation." The guard glanced at his plain sandals, worn kurta, and weathered face. Did you register at the entrance? They have a list." Imran's smile didn't falter. "They invited me. I'm the man they're honoring tonight." A woman, nearby holding a tablet and dressed in a sleek black suit, approached. "Do you have a pass, sir?" Imran held up the invitation card, a bit crumpled from his pocket. She scanned it quickly. Name: Imran Ahmed. She frowned, tapping at her screen. "Sorry, I don't see your registration." He looked confused. "But it says I'm being honored." Her tone softened a bit. "I see your name in the tribute script, yes. But you weren't listed for the guest seating. Maybe it was a media story thing. PR often does that." Imran stared at her for a moment. "I was told this event was to honor me." She looked apologetic, but tired. "It is, sir. In spirit." The words stung deeper than she could ever know. In spirit. A man who gave away everything for his daughters, reduced to a symbolic gesture. Just then, Ariba passed by, laughing with two donors. Imran stepped slightly forward, eyes lighting up. But she didn't notice. She looked through him like he was part of the wall. The woman touched his arm gently. "I'm really sorry, sir. Maybe you could visit during the day sometime. It's quieter. The girls are usually very busy during these events." Imran turned slowly. Yes, they must be. And then, without another word, he walked back across the alley. The lights behind him grew brighter, the music louder, but inside everything had gone dim. Back home he sat down, folded the invitation into a perfect square, and tucked it into the same candy tin with all the other forgotten things. He thought about Fariha that night. How she used to say, "Never. Let the world make you feel invisible, Imran. If they can't see you, make them feel you. But how do you make someone feel a presence they've worked so hard to erase?" That night, sleep didn't come easy. And when it did, it came with dreams of a small wooden shop filled with laughter, sticky fingers, and the sound of twin girls calling, "Abba, give us one more sweet." When he woke up, there was silence again. And outside, the street was clean. No sign that a celebration ever happened, not even a leftover sweet. The following week passed without any word from Alina or Ariba. Not a call, not a visit, not even a note from their foundation staff. Imran didn't mention it to anyone. He didn't expect pity, and he certainly didn't want it. He simply returned to his quiet rhythm, waking early, folding his bedding, drinking his chai slowly on the steps. The only difference now was the heaviness in his heart every time he looked toward the old shop, now repainted and glowing like a trophy. He tried to ignore it, but pain has a habit of leaking out in the smallest ways. When the neighborhood kids came running past his house, giggling and fighting over toffees, He didn't smile like he used to. When an old friend at the mosque asked about his daughters, he only nodded quietly. And when the press article came out, Imran Foundation raises 10 million in first fundraiser. He read it silently, then turned the page without finishing. The last paragraph. Until one morning something unexpected happened. A young woman knocked at his door. She was maybe 22, wearing jeans and a soft grey scarf over her head. She carried a folder in one hand and a nervous smile in the other. "Assalamu alaikum," she said. Imran opened the door halfway. "Walaikum salam. I'm Sana. I work with your daughters at the foundation." He blinked. "You're the first one from there who said that to me directly." She looked embarrassed. "I know. That's actually why I came. I hope you don't mind." He stepped aside. "Come in." Sana looked around the tiny living room, the faded couch, the old calendar still on the wall from last year, and the photo frames slightly tilted on crooked nails. She sat carefully. "I've been working there for 3 months," she began. "When I joined, everyone talked about you like you were a legend, the father who gave up everything." Imran didn't respond, just watched her quietly. "But no one ever said you lived right across the street," she added. "Not until I saw you through the window last week, standing alone while the gala happened. That image stayed with me." His eyes narrowed slightly. "And what did you see in that image?" She hesitated. "I saw a forgotten man." He gave a bitter smile. "Then your eyes work well." Sana opened her folder and pulled out a printed speech. "This is the speech your daughters prepared for the event, the one they were going to give if they had time, but they never did." She handed it to him. He read silently. "We wouldn't be standing here without our father, a man who sold his dreams so we could have ours. He taught us sacrifice, love, and perseverance. He gave us everything." Tears welled up in his eyes, but not from pride, from the irony of it. "They wrote this?" he asked quietly. "Yes, and they meant it," Sana said. "Then why not give it to me instead of strangers?" he whispered. Sana didn't know what to say, but after a pause she asked, "Can I ask something?" He nodded. "Do you still love them?" He looked at her as if the question insulted the blood in his veins. "They are my daughters. I never stopped loving them. I stopped waiting." That silence spoke volumes. "I think they're lost in their own success," Sana said, "blind to what really matters. But they're not bad people, just misguided." Imran folded the speech and placed it on the table. "Even good people leave wounds, and sometimes good intentions don't heal them." She looked down. "But thank you," he said after a long pause. "For telling me, and for seeing me." Sana stood. "If they don't come, will you let me visit again? Maybe help you write your story, the real one." He smiled faintly. "You want to write about a candy man who got buried under his own sweetness?" She shook her head. "I want to write about a father who gave up everything and still forgave." That word, forgave, hung in the room like an open wound. As she walked out, he stood at the doorway and watched her. Leave the same way he once watched his daughters, but this time someone had seen him. And for the first time in years, Imran felt like maybe, just maybe, he wasn't invisible anymore. Sana started visiting once a week. She brought her notebook, sometimes a tape recorder, and always a respectful silence. She never rushed Imran. She would let him talk when he felt like it, and just sit quietly when he didn't. Over cups of chai and the occasional leftover sweet she brought from the bazaar, something began to shift inside the old man. He told her stories he hadn't told anyone in years. How Ariba used to sneak sweets when she thought he wasn't looking. How Alina used to cry during math homework and blame the numbers for being rude. How Fariha once danced in the rain, outside the candy shop just to make the girls laugh. Sana wrote it all down. She was working on a feature article titled, "The Man Behind the Name The Real Imran Ahmed." It wasn't just for the foundation or a news column. She said it was to make sure the world saw him, not just his sacrifice, but his soul. Imran would nod, quietly humbled, but a part of him still didn't believe it mattered, until one day Sana came rushing in with wide eyes and a trembling hand. "They're here," she said, catching her breath. "Your daughters, both of them, they're—" At the foundation, asking for you, Imran stood up slowly, his joints protesting. "After all this time? Yes, I think. Someone sent them your story draft." He tilted his head. "You sent it?" Sana looked guilty. "Only the rough version. I thought maybe if they read your truth, they'd finally see the man behind their headlines." Imran didn't say anything. He just walked to the mirror and began combing his hair with his fingers. When he arrived at the foundation building, people moved aside. No one asked for a pass this time. He stepped through the glass doors like a ghost returning to life. Inside, the room fell quiet. Alina turned first. Her eyes met his, and her perfectly curated expression broke in an instant. Hariba was next. "Abba," she whispered, stepping forward. "We read it. The article. The stories. We didn't know you were so alone." He didn't respond immediately, just walked up to the display wall where his photo hung, beside quotes and awards and promises that now felt hollow. "Why didn't you tell us," Alina asked softly, "that you felt forgotten?" He turned. "I didn't think I needed to. A father shouldn't have to beg to be remembered." Ariba had tears in her eyes. "We thought we were honoring you. We thought this place was enough." "This place is beautiful," he said, eyes scanning the bright walls, the shelves of books, the happy children. "But I didn't want a monument. I wanted a moment. Just one. Where you looked at me, not through me." The room fell silent again. Then, breaking the stillness, he pulled out a small plastic packet from his pocket. 2 pieces of wrapped candy. "The last one's from the shop," he said. "I saved them all these years, one for each of you. You loved mango flavor, remember?" Ariba broke. She ran to him, wrapped her arms around his thin frame, crying hard. Alina followed, sobbing, silently into his shoulder. "We're so sorry, Abba," they said in unison, their voices muffled. Imran said nothing for a long moment. Then, with his arms gently wrapped around both, he whispered, "I was never angry, just disappointed. But even disappointment can be healed. With truth." After a long embrace, they sat together in his old office corner, the same corner, that once held shelves of sweet jars. They didn't talk about the gala, or Dubai, or London. They talked about school uniforms, silly fights, the way their mother hummed when she cooked. Sana watched from the side, wiping a tear from her own cheek. She didn't interrupt. She didn't write. She just listened. Later that night, before Imran left, Alina held his hand tightly. "We want you to move in with one of us. You shouldn't be alone anymore," he smiled. "I'm not alone, not anymore, but I'll think about it." Ariba added, "Maybe we could rebuild the candy shop. A small section. A tribute to your original space. You could run it if you want." Imran looked at her warmly. "Only if you promise to work there one day. Both of you." They laughed, teary-eyed. "Deal." That night, Imran didn't go straight home. He sat on the steps of the old shop, now reborn, and watched the stars with a peaceful kind of pain. Forgiveness, it turns out, isn't loud. It's quiet. It comes wrapped in mango-flavored candy, tear-streaked apologies, and the chance to feel human again. The weeks that followed felt like seasons shifting in Imran's small world. Where once there was only dust and silence, now came voices, soft, familiar ones asking what he'd eaten, how he slept, whether he needed new slippers. The kind of questions no one asks unless they care. The kind of noise that sounds like love. Alina and Ariba didn't disappear again. They kept coming. Not every day, but enough. They brought food, sometimes stayed the night, sometimes brought their children too. Imran's grandchildren, wide-eyed and shy at first, but curious. Enough to ask, "Did you really sell candy, Nana?" He smiled every time. "The best candy in town." Sana finished her article, but she never published it. "I changed my mind," she told him over tea one day. "It's not a story the world needs to read. It's a story your daughters needed to live." Imran nodded slowly, deeply. Instead, she printed one copy and gave it to him in a small leather binder, for the man who was never invisible, only waiting to be seen again. The foundation kept growing, but it grew differently now, more humble, less glossy. Imran insisted on it. "No more speeches without truth," he had said once. "No more my name unless you mean it." They meant it now. A small wing of the center was redesigned to look just like the old shop. Same wooden counter, same jars, even the same old cash register Imran had kept hidden in a cupboard all those years. He ran that space himself 3 days a week. Not for money, for joy. Children would come in with wide eyes and leave with sticky fingers and a little story. "So this candy's on the house," he'd say. "Just tell your parents you met the candy man." He became a neighborhood legend all over again, not because of what he lost, but because of what he never stopped giving. One afternoon, as the sun fell across the street in long orange strokes, Imran sat outside the shop with Alina and Ariba on either side of him. The kids played nearby. The world was quieter now, more forgiving. "You know," he said, sipping chai, "I thought I'd die alone." Ariba turned to him quickly. "Don't say that, Abba. I'm not sad," he smiled. "Just honest. I thought the story ended in silence, but it didn't. You came back. Even if you were late, you came back." Alina rested her head on his shoulder. "We never should have waited so long." "You did," he said, "and it hurt. But pain is funny. It doesn't always destroy you. Sometimes it just teaches you to listen differently." They stayed like that for a while. No, words just breathing the same air again. As evening prayers echoed in the distance, Imran looked out across the alley and whispered, "Your mother would have loved to see this." "She sees it," Ariba said, gently squeezing his hand. A breeze passed through then, lifting a few wrappers off the ground and making them swirl like dancing memories. Imran watched them go, eyes soft, heart settled. And in that simple moment, surrounded by family, by laughter, by the sweet scent of cardamom and the faint hum of children, Imran Ahmed finally felt what he had been denied for decades, not just love, but presence. He was no longer just the name on a building. He was the heart that beat inside it, the candy man who gave up everything, and got it all back piece by piece, not in riches, not in glory, but in the sound of 2 daughters whispering Abba beside him and meaning, fight with everything they had left,